Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy Hollenbeck,
And my name is Georgie Murrah.
and we're here today to talk to you about our idea of how to brand NC. We believe that North Carolina is a great state, and it could attract more tourists here by creating an appealing brand that focuses on adventure. This led us to come up with the slogan, Adventure Welcomes You. Now, throughout this presentation, we're going to talk about the brand itself, how it encompasses North Carolina's natural beauty, as well as its core values, and how it will appeal to North Carolina residents as well as tourists. We're going to talk about the implementation of the brand and how it's going to be marketed to neighboring states to emphasize the natural wonders and adventures that await tourists here. Finally, we're going to talk about how it will affect the growth of North Carolina tourism in terms of tourism numbers and revenue numbers. We believe that through our brand, we could see an 18% increase in tourism over the next 5 years, as well as around $9 billion increase in revenues over the next 5 years. So let's get started with the brand. People strongly associate North Carolina with values like community, hospitality, and friendliness, but not so much with things like inclusiveness, diversity, and equality. We believe that our slogan, Adventure Welcomes You, really encompasses the whole spectrum of values. We think that it speaks to the friendliness and hospitality of the residents, and we also see it as an inclusive, welcoming call for out-of-state tourists and in-state tourists alike to come and enjoy what NC has to offer. Now, we talked a little bit about those values. We also feel that there's another side to this slogan and our brand, and that is the natural aspect. NC is broadly associated with its natural beauty, especially its beaches and mountains. But at the same time, around 40% of people surveyed outside of NC didn't feel that NC was strongly associated with anything. That gives us two opportunities. One, we want to appeal to that natural beauty aspect of North Carolina and draw people in that way. Additionally, we feel like it offers us a blank canvas where this brand has the opportunity to become exciting and refreshing and really draw people in. Now, NC could stand to learn a little bit from other states like Michigan and California. As you can see from the chart on the board, its brand rating is not the best. Places like Michigan have successfully implemented brands that have greatly boosted tourism revenues and overall image of the state. And we believe that NC could follow in the footsteps. Now, to showcase that, we're going to talk a little bit about Michigan as well as Colorado. Now, we feel that Michigan is a great state to follow in terms of being an example. They contracted a private agency to handle their branding efforts. They also pre-tested. And because of that, they get about $4 in ROI per dollar spent since 2006, which is a great return. Colorado, on the other hand, has gone down what we feel was the wrong path. They abandoned a successful campaign in 2012 in favor of their new campaign, and they didn't really pre-test. So we feel that Michigan has really used their techniques to gain a strong economic advantage, and we believe that North Carolina can do the same by creating an appealing slogan which could lead to greater ROI. Now I'll pass it off to George, who's going to talk about implementation.
Thanks, Jeremy. So, as Jeremy stated, North Carolina's presence is not really well defined. 40% of out-of-staters don't associate North Carolina with anything, but it does rank highly on different metrics. And as you can see on the board, it's first most desirable state of residence, third in most friendly state, eighth as having the most beautiful scenery, and sixth as the favorite state of Americans. So our goal of our campaign is to define North Carolina as a destination for adventure and to try to differentiate North Carolina from the surrounding states so that we're not all classified as just being as one of the South, but as something bigger than that. So most overnight visitors in North Carolina are actually residents within North Carolina, but we could expand turnout from other states. States such as Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida all harbor visitors that have a percent below 10%. And we're hoping to increase that. So we're going to target those 4 states that already generate visitors and try to up their visitors to North Carolina. So how are we going to do that? So firstly, we're going to use festivals. We're going to use festivals to bring in family-oriented culture to North Carolina. Secondly, we're going to use seasonal ads. For example, in the winter, Appalachian Mountains in Boone, North Carolina are very popular. So we're going to advertise, or we're going to put more advertisements out there that relate to the Appalachian Mountains. Whereas in the summer, the Outer Banks are a very popular destination. There are tons of beaches, there are tons of aquatic animals, and those are just 2 of the many different sites that North Carolina has to offer. Third, we're going to use social media. There are a lot of pictures of North Carolina. There are a lot of poems about North Carolina that really encompass, the young's interest in North Carolina. And by using Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media sites, we could take advantage of that and try to incorporate it into Brand NC. And lastly, we're going to use trip packages to entice, day visitors to extend their visit to an overnight thing. So we would target Groupon, we would target Amazon Local to provide extra deals to incoming visitors that would normally only stay one day, but through this enticement they would stay overnight and produce more income for the state. So North Carolina captures a small percentage of family vacationers, but we could increase this popularity using targeted ads, like we said before. States such as California, Pennsylvania, and Texas are highly valuable in destination spots for family vacationers. Surprisingly, North Carolina and New York are very similar for sharing the market for a family vacation. So we want to try to improve this. So North Carolina has a fairly well-known base, but we want to extend that. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use the fact that 84% of overnight visitors come by automobile. So the other 16% come by plane, train, boat, other sources, but 84% come by automobile, which is huge. So we're going to capitalize on this 84% by targeting families in neighboring states that can drive here just because of the distance. And we did see a little bit under a 5.5% increase in 2012 tourism expenditures. So as tourists visit North Carolina, they're spending more and more every year. So after we launch our brand, North Carolina could increase revenues and increase tourism by about 18% over 5 years. Now this is expected. On the low end, we're going to see about a 15% increase, whereas on the high end, we could see well above 20% increase in both revenues and tourism. And as you can see by the graph on the right, projected revenue from tax receipts we're projecting it to increase year over year. So we're going to front load a lot of, or not even a lot of, we're going to front load, decent budget for this project, and the cash flows are going to keep coming in year after year. And then, of course, this is only a 5-year projection, and it still goes on. We're still going to see a return on investment in 10 years, 20 years, and so on. And as you can also see by the graph on the right, our projected revenue is not very volatile. It's very steady. And so that is a huge part of our project. Steady income and a steady increase in demand to come to North Carolina. So in the next 5 years, North Carolina could get a total profit of $8.5 billion through continued partnership with ad agencies. So, like I said before, we're hoping to create a budget for this by front-loading a moderately sized budget and then seeing the cash flows generate in the future. And so projected profit over the next 3 years is very similar to projected revenue. Our costs aren't going to change that much, therefore our profit should be steadily increasing as well, which is great. And of course, North Carolina could attract more tourists to the state by creating an appealing brand that focuses on adventure. And our slogan is "Adventure welcomes you." And that slogan really encompasses North Carolina's natural beauty and its core values. Now, we're not only trying to focus on North Carolina residents or out-of-staters. We're trying to do it all at once. So we need to appeal to natives or individuals in North Carolina that live there, and also out-of-staters to adventure out in North Carolina. North Carolina is welcoming adventure. So secondly, our brand emphasizes the North Carolina's natural wonders and the adventures that await. So like I said before, there are a lot of beaches, there are the Appalachian Mountains, and we want residents of North Carolina and out-of-state visitors to explore these areas. And lastly, we're going to increase North Carolina tourism with a smart ad campaign. What I mean by smart ad campaigns, what I described earlier, by using social media, using Groupon, Amazon Local, and other types of advertisements to bring in tourists to the state of North Carolina. And by rebranding North Carolina, we could see an 18% increase in tourism over the next 5 years. And this could increase the incremental revenue of 8.9 or $8.5 billion by the year 2018. And now Jeremy will go over the appendix.
So the first thing that we wanted to touch on was some of the main visitor activities in North Carolina. As you can see at the top, the main one is family reunions and visiting relatives, and we believe that that is a really great opportunity for us. We want to attract those families, we want to target those families, and we want to bring them here to come and spend time to visit North Carolina and see its natural beauty and stay overnight. As we mentioned, we're going to be using festivals and different trip packages to try and convert day trippers into overnight visitors. So we believe that having family and relative visits at the top is a great opportunity for us. We talked about some other comparable branding efforts: Colorado, Michigan. Another one is Kentucky, which recently had success with their Unbridled Spirit campaign. We can see that leisure is the most common reason for visiting North Carolina, and overnighters spend significantly more than day trippers, and that was the incentive behind us really pushing to get people to stay overnight and visit more of NC and experience more of NC. You can see some of the statistics from past ad campaigns, visitor spending and taxes, and see about what you can expect for an ROI on those ad dollars spent. We made some assumptions regarding tourist growth estimations that played into how we predicted revenue and tourist growth. These are the three cases for revenue growth: the conservative, moderate, and optimistic cases that led us to our assumption of about $9 billion in growth over the next 5 years. This is just a closer look at the tourism numbers. These are some future plans around brand awareness, such as brand merchandising and more regular festivals to help celebrate the brand, that we believe could improve the longevity of our brand, Adventure Welcomes You. In this graph, we show room demand and how that has increased in North Carolina compared with overall tourism expenditures in the U.S. And we believe this is really important because it shows that North Carolina tourism expenditures are growing at a faster rate than overall U.S. tourism spending, which shows a lot of promise for North Carolina. It means that people value visiting North Carolina more than other states. And finally, we believe that Adventure Welcomes You will be a strong brand that will also strengthen the business presence here. While not the main focus of tourism, we believe that having a strong brand behind the state really increases the appeal and will help business.